Hello, well now I'm going to cook cottage pie. It's like a shepherd's pie, except we don't put any shepherds in it. No, shepherd's pie is with lamb and a cottage pie is with beef. So have a look, see what you think. If you make a different version, let me know. I'd like to know what sort of shepherd or cottage pie that you cook. So please enjoy the video and tell me what you think. Okay, there's a bit of colour in the onions now. They're not completely fried or anything. So we're just going to push them over to one side. They'll keep cooking as I'm cooking the beef. Just a touch more olive oil, not much. Now we're going to put in Australian, it's 1 kilo. American, it would be 2.5 pounds of beef. So we'll just leave it like that. No, we won't. What we're going to do is we're going to cut it, fold it over. Quite thick, a kilo of beef. Just cutting it open, and now you're just going to cut it some more, break it up. I say this is a cottage pie because it's beef, but even if you make a pie with beef, most people will call it a shepherd's pie. They both look identical, so for want of a better word, this is still a shepherd's pie. Alright, spread the beef out. Now it's on a medium-high flame. We want to get this all cooked all the way through. And while the bottom's starting to cook, I'm going to start adding some flavours and depth on top. Now this is just parsley. Again, a tablespoon. Not a great deal, but a little bit. I like a little bit of oregano. Oregano, probably a teaspoon and a half going in. But I just like lemon pepper. It's got a few other additives in there. Just tiny little flecks of chili, actually tiny bits to go in there. About a teaspoon of that. And we'll just put a little bit of black pepper in as well. I love pepper. Okay. Again, the magical HP sauce. These are just depths of flavour. That's all you're adding, is a depth of flavour. Probably about a tablespoon of that going in. And again, Worcestershire sauce. It certainly adds another depth of flavour to the meal. You build flavours in whatever you cook. If you get to the point where you just keep making packaged goods and standard goods, there is no variety. And I can guarantee, making a shepherd's pie, or a cottage pie, whatever you want to call it, I find that I make it similar each time. It's never the same, which is good. In this one today, I'm not putting in peas and carrots in the actual shepherd's pie. They're going to be in a separate dish. They're going to make honey, carrots, broccoli and peas, because we've got a family gathering and some of them don't like that, so I'll just have them in a separate dish. So that's sizzling away, that's cooking nicely. The onions are probably half cooked, but that's fine. As we go, what we're going to do is just keep turning the meat, mincing it up in the dish, and get to the point where we actually just flip it over and we'll mix everything in. All these flavours are going to combine, and near the end what I'll do, and I'll show you, I make up some, you've all got powdered gravy you can buy from the supermarket or the shops. Well, I've just put in about a tablespoon in here, in this glass, and what I'm going to do is just near the end, because I want the base of the meat to be quite thick, not over stiff, but a nice gravy beef flavour with a gravy going through it. So this will be added near the end, just poured in to thicken up the actual meat. So let me just start turning this over. Just flick it over. I'll turn those onions in a second, just where they are. I'm not going to incorporate them just yet. And just mince it up a bit. You don't have to get this down to like fine grains of beef. I don't mind a few little chunks because they'll still cook and add a bit of depth to the actual mix as well. So let's pull that meat back a little bit and we'll just turn these onions over. Another 5 minutes. I will incorporate everything together, but at the moment we're still cooking the meat, so it gets to a cooked state and nothing raw. Alright, I'll turn off the camera and we'll come back shortly. Okay, what we're going to do now is just going to incorporate everything. Mix the onions in with the beef. The beef is 90% cooked. You see a few little raw sections, but because it's on fairly high heat, I'll turn it up even just a little bit more. I'm going to get all this mixed in. And at this stage, I would normally put in the peas and carrots. And then of course it all get covered in a mashed potato, and I'll put a bit of herbs and spices on top of that. But at the moment, we just want this cooked. This is the base of the meat that goes into the shepherd's pie. Pretty close. At this stage you could turn this into, add a bit of taco seasoning, you could make it tacos, you could turn it into lots of things. Add some Mexican flavours, make burritos. Right. A little bit more. The meat's just about cooked all the way through. The onions are about 90% cooked. There'll be a little bit of bite in them, which is okay because this is going to go into a big dish, then the potato put on it, and we'll cook it. So the meat's going to cool down a bit, and so are the onions, but they're going to be reheated back up to about 190 degrees centigrade in the oven. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, I'll get you to work that out. So they'll keep cooking underneath the potato, so I'm not too worried that they're only 90% cooked. You see a lot of the moisture is coming out now and getting a little bit dry, which is just how I like it. Right, everything's pretty much cooked, and now I'm going to add that gravy I made earlier. Let's put in about half of it, because each time you make it it's a little bit different. Sometimes you don't need to add as much. You see it's starting to thicken up, adding the gravy base to the actual minced beef and onions. So let's probably do a little bit more. Again, this is also going to add flavour, so we use all that. Pretty close. Like I say, normally, without some of the kids that are coming tomorrow, we would have added the peas and carrots into this by now, so that's how I normally make it. But kids being kids, it's a lot easier to stop them saying, I don't like this, I don't like that. So you can see that's thickened up pretty well. So that's going to make a fairly nice solid base underneath the mashed potato when you make the shepherd's pie. Alright, what I'm going to do, I'm going to tip this into a dish, and I'll show you that in just a second. Okay, I've got a Butte stoneware. I don't know if you can read that. That's from Yarra Glen Pottery, Australian made. Beautiful glazed pot. I love making my shepherd pie in this, so just going to put that there, and we're going to tip in the actual contents of the meat. It goes very easily. Oh, a little trick there, I didn't show you. When you're tipping out food, and if you actually turn the pan back that way, it'll all dribble down, but when you tip it out, just give it a bit of a flick over and you won't drip anything. So this is the base layer of what's going to be shepherd's pie meat. Of course, we now need to cook the potatoes. I'm not going to bother showing you how to peel potatoes, and the exact quantity of what goes on there is, well, you need to judge it. You need to fill the pie up to about a 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch below the top of the surface. So it's about 1.5 inches thick of potato. It's about 1.5 inches thick of of meat. So I won't bore you with the details of peeling potatoes, but I'll show you when I've mashed them how I'm actually going to put it on top of that. So again, this is going to cool down over the next 20 minutes while I do the actual potatoes. We'll come back and look at that. Okay, now we're going to mash the potato. I know that's exciting. Not really. To show you how I do it. Just a little bit of milk. About that much butter. And simply mash. Now I like it making it fairly smooth, but it doesn't really matter. You can have it partially mashed or completely mashed, it's entirely up to you. But you do want a fairly stiff mashed potato because it forms a good layer, and when it cooks it becomes like a slice. It's not really exciting for most people, but some people probably never mashed potato before. Not many I imagine, but quite a few. Didn't know. Okay, it's probably 90% mashed. There's a few little lumps in there, which is okay. I don't mind that. So what I'm going to do now is actually just remove that. Put down, you can see that's the meat that we cooked earlier. And what that's going to allow me to do, I'll put a little bit of HP sauce on top as well. This is something I do. Now we're going to go into the building trade. Going to get a mashed potato, just place it on top, little lumps at first, and then we will spread it out. I'm sure a lot of you have already done this before, and the flavours that you want in your actual cottage pie is entirely up to you. I do, like I say, add normally peas and carrots, but some of the kids and grandkids come and go, I don't like that. So we put them in a separate bain-marie for them. There's about a dozen coming tomorrow. No, this is not the only food they're getting, but some people wanted to know how I made my shepherd's pie, or cottage pie in this case. This is how I do it. So, what we're going to do now is try and spread it out fairly evenly. You don't want it going right to the top, because when it cooks in the oven it'll actually spill over. And this is the easy part actually of making the shepherd's pie, just putting the topping on. Okay, pretty close. A little bit more left, I might as well put it on. Like I say, I like to have mine pretty thick on top because it ends up like a nice crust. You'll see shortly when I put some of the other ingredients on top. A little bit of cheese, a bit of paprika, a bit of parsley. Now we'll just make it look a little bit prettier and make sure we don't, like I said, go over too high, because then you'll just have it when it cooks spilling everywhere. And my wife cleans the oven, not me, so I better not do that. Right, just about done. Doesn't have to be fancy. You want really pretty, go elsewhere, because I don't like pretty, I like tasty. And this is just the old fork method, nothing fancy. It's going to create a few ridges which go crispy. You can fluff it up, and you can even get fancy and get a pastry tube and pour little florets of potato on top, but it's not going to happen in my house. Alright, so that's it. Actually, just a little bit of a raised bed if you like. Now, I don't put a lot on. I'm going to grate a little bit of cheese. This is just the old cheese grater. We've got several, but I like the old one. So now we're just going to grate a little bit of cheese, which will also firm up the top a little bit and add a bit of flavour. Just enough to add that bit of flavour, a bit of kick. You're getting pretty close. Okay. It may look like a lot, but it's not really. Now what I add on top of this is a little bit of dried parsley, as you'll see, just sprinkle on top. Even looks pretty when it's finished. There's the parsley. And this just adds another layer again. It's a bit of paprika, which certainly tastes great when you mix it with cheese or anything. Actually, you can mix cheese with anything on the planet. You've got cheese and bacon, you're going to survive. So that's about it now. All I'm going to do with that is I'm going to bake it in the oven about 190, 200 centigrade, depends if you've got a fan forced oven or not. Probably for about 35 minutes, maybe a bit less, and she'll be done. So let me go and do that, and I'll bring it back when she's finished. Well, there we go. That's the finished product. Crispy on top. Smells delicious. I can't actually eat it now because it's for tomorrow when the family comes over, but I wouldn't mind getting a big spoon and getting in there right now. So I hope you enjoyed it. I hope if you get a chance to try and make it, make your own version. It doesn't have to be exactly what I did.